And tensions between NATO and Russia are rising once again, this time along the northern edge of Europe. NATO has officially opened a new command center in Finland, just a short distance from Russia's border, prompting Moscow to ramp up its own military presence nearby. NATO's command center is located in the Finnish city of Mikkeli, roughly 300 kilometers from St. Petersburg and about 140 kilometers from the Russian border. According to the Finnish Defense Ministry, this new center will oversee NATO ground operations in Northern Europe, manage joint military exercises and coordinate land defense strategies if an emergency arises. The facility currently employs about 10 personnel, but that number will grow to around 50 during peacetime operations. It will function under NATO's command structure in America's Virginia, operating round the clock as part of the alliance's broader defense framework. In response, Russia appears to be fortifying its western defenses, with NATO officials pointing to satellite images confirming new construction of Russian bases and military infrastructure near the Finnish border. That perhaps appear to be in the early stages of a long-term expansion. NATO officials said that this build-up looks far smaller in scale compared to Russia's military positioning before the Russia-Ukraine war broke out in 2022. Now, Finnish defense officials believe that once the intense phase of the Russia-Ukraine war subsides, Moscow could redeploy thousands of troops to the Finnish border. Russia had already announced last month that it would strengthen its 1,300-kilometer border with Finland by erecting new fortifications and barriers, citing what it called potential unfriendly acts from Helsinki. Finland, on its part, has also begun reinforcing its eastern border. Construction of a 200-kilometer fence is underway and is expected to be completed by the end of 2026. Now, across Europe, other nations are making similar preparations. In Sweden, its citizens are stocking up on food items for a potential European war, with authorities encouraging measures to boost readiness.
In the event of a crisis or even war, it's important that every individual in our country knows that they are a key player and they need to prepare to be a key player by stocking up food, making sure they have water and other things that makes their world go around.
Now, in Estonia, authorities have started expanding fortifications along the Russian border, including fences, anti-tank barriers and underground bunkers, while Germany is reviewing its medical readiness for a large-scale conflict. Military planners are preparing systems capable of treating up to 1,000 wounded soldiers a day if a war breaks out between NATO and Russia. Poland is intensifying its defense training programs with efforts to prepare every adult male for potential mobilization. Further north, Norway, which shares nearly 200 kilometers of its border with Russia, is reopening old military bunkers and has made bomb shelters mandatory in all new building designs. Reports of unidentified drones flying over European cities such as Munich in Denmark have stirred concerns that Russia could be probing NATO's air defenses. At a recent forum in Sochi, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that Moscow would respond significantly to Europe's militarization.
In Germany, for example, they're talking about how the German army should once again be the most powerful in Europe. Well, we're listening carefully, watching what exactly they mean. I think no one doubts that Russia's countermeasures won't be long in coming. The response to these threats, it seems, to put it mildly, will be very significant.
All right, so from Finland to Germany, preparations suggest a growing sense that NATO is getting ready across the continent for a war with Russia. Now, tomorrow marks 2 years since the war in Gaza began, a war that has claimed more than 67,000 lives and, according to the United Nations, has left nearly 2.2 million people in Gaza homeless amid ruins and desperation. Even as indirect talks between Hamas and Israel have begun just a short while ago in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh for a hostage-prisoner exchange and Gaza ceasefire. It appears, though, the fate of the hostages ultimately could determine whether this war finally ends or explodes into something even deadlier. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made his stance clear. Not a single step in US President Donald Trump's peace plan will move forward until every hostage, living or dead, comes back home. He said that Israel will not advance to any other phase of the deal until all captives are returned to Israeli soil. Netanyahu said that if Hamas fails to release the hostages, in his words, Israel will go back on the offensive in Gaza. Remember, Netanyahu last week had said that Israeli army will remain in most of the Gaza Strip. Trump has also issued a warning of his own. He said Hamas will face complete annihilation if it tries to cling to power in Gaza. Now, according to reports, 48 hostages remain in captivity and only 20 are believed to be alive. The US brokered plan aims for the release of those surviving hostages along with the remains of the others in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian detainees. The proposal also calls for a complete halt to fighting within 72 hours. But even as negotiators meet in Egypt for indirect peace talks between Hamas and Israel, war continues in Gaza. Smoke rose over Gaza City today. Donald Trump remains confident that peace is within reach.
Yeah, we're going to very quickly. We had some very good meetings. The countries of the world, a lot of the countries surrounding Israel, frankly, Muslim, Arab, and many others have had great meetings with Hamas, and it looks like it's working. So we'll wait for a little while, see how it all turns out.
Now, foreign ministers, various countries, including Egypt, have called the indirect Israel-Hamas meeting a real opportunity to reach a lasting ceasefire. A senior Hamas official told AFP that the group wants an agreement that ends the war and starts a prisoner exchange immediately. Al Arabiya, citing sources, said Hamas is even willing to surrender its weapons, but only under international supervision. While on the Israeli side, Netanyahu has dispatched his top negotiators to Egypt, expressing hope that hostages could be released within days. Hundreds of protesters gathered outside Israeli Prime Minister's residence, chanting, "Seal the deal," a message directed at Israel's negotiating team. And at the same time, pro-Palestinian demonstrations erupted across several countries, including Serbia and the United Kingdom. Now, Israeli strikes continued across the Strip even as Trump and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio both called on Israel to halt its operations immediately. Warnings that appear to have gone unheeded. So as the war turns to tomorrow, West Asia stands at a crossroads. The release of hostages now holds the power to decide whether peace finally takes shape or whether the bloodshed deepens. And a devastating landslide disaster struck Darjeeling, which is one of the most picturesque regions of India. Torrential rainfall triggered one of the worst landslides in over a decade. Relentless downpours have caused entire hillsides to give way, burying homes and roads and resulting in at least 28 confirmed fatalities, with several injured. The districts of Darjeeling and nearby Jalpaiguri have borne the brunt of this destruction. Mirik, the worst hit area, and several other regions, including Jore Bungalow, Sukhia Pokhri and Sadar police station areas, are also severely impacted. The landslides have triggered widespread devastation, cutting off entire villages, blocking key roads and disrupting communication networks. Now, thousands of tourists who flock to the region for the Durga Puja holidays find themselves stranded as rain continues to pour. Local authorities have confirmed that landslides have been reported in 35 different locations across the hill district, and the region remains largely isolated. The devastation has been compared to the deadly landslides of 2015, which killed nearly 40 people. But this year's disaster is proving to be especially challenging, as crucial roads such as the Mirik-Sukhepokri route have been completely blocked. And an iron bridge connecting Siliguri to the Mirik-Darjeeling route has been severely damaged. For residents and tourists alike, the road ahead remains uncertain as continuous rainfall hampers rescue and relief efforts. Rescue teams are working round the clock using heavy machinery and manual labor to clear the rubble and reach those in need. In some areas, locals have joined in the efforts, assisting in the search for survivors and providing aid to the injured. The collapse of the bridge and roads have isolated several villages, making it difficult for emergency services to access these areas. In response, the Indian Army has been deployed to assist in the rescue and relief operations. The monsoon season has always posed challenges for the hilly regions of Darjeeling, but experts warn that climate change is exacerbating the frequency and the intensity of such disasters. The Geological Survey of India estimates that nearly 13% of the country's landmass is prone to landslides, with the northeastern states being particularly vulnerable. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.